Hi, buddy. We are live. Welcome in again. Once again, it's Hopes and I, and we are going to preview the Arsenal Crystal Palace game. My title for this video is Blimey, it's Palace again, Hopes.
Yeah, hi, good evening to you, Ray. Thanks for having me on again, and good evening, what should I say? Good evening to your American viewers, and good morning to your UK viewers.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get this straight. Let's get this right. You're over there. It's 1:30 something in the morning. We call it crazy o'clock. It's at half eight over here in the States. I'll be up at 7 o'clock in the morning, which will time in perfectly for the start of the game. And yeah, we'll get into the league positions and possibly where we could be jumping around mid. We're jumping around mid-table hopes
Oh, don't
or
remind me, don't
baby
remind me.
steps, right? Baby steps.
Yeah, new manager, new era, on the up, on the up, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully, we dropped as far as 13, so hopefully that's as low as we go this season. But hey, wanted to give a shout out to the bearded gooner right now, Tanner. He's a little bit laid up. He's pulled his back today, and he's laying on a bed somewhere, feeling, um, well, obviously feeling sorry for himself. So, shout out to the bearded gooner.
Yeah,
Hopefully, he's
get well
watching.
soon.
All right, so our recent history hopes is not that great versus Crystal Palace. I'm going to go back three games, and in the last three games, we've only drawn two of those and lost one of them. Going back to November of the last campaign, we drew 2-2. Granit Xhaka was both the hero and the villain of the piece. He scored a great free kick to add to Aubameyang's bundle in goal. Remember that corner? VAR would have had something to say about that, but that was last season. So we were 2-1 up. And in the dying embers of that game, we give a breakaway goal away. I think Torreira bombing forward once again. Um, so jump in if you have any immediate memories of that. If not, we'll go 2-2. Milojevic, I was practicing his name. I think I may have butchered it again. He scored the equalizing penalty uh, that Zaha won off of Xhaka in that game.
Yeah, thank God he's suspended. Millie, I call him Millie.
We'll
Millie's
call him
suspended for
Millie
this game.
or
Yeah, why not?
Yobi.
Yeah, Milajevic or however you say it. But yeah, no, fortunately he's suspended for this game. But let's not be fooled. They've got plenty of solid players. You know, I like MacArthur, middle of the park, and their two centre backs. Even though they're aging, they have experience on their side, and obviously there's Zaha, and in the last few games, Jordan Ayew, he scored against us as well. So just because one or two of their players are missing, it doesn't really mean much. And also, Tossen from Everton, he's on loan, isn't he? To Crystal Palace, and I believe he's going straight into the squad. So they've got firepower up front. So it's just like we got caught out on the counter when we drew with them at the Emirates um, back end of last year in October. Let's not be fooled. Our defence have got to be on their game for this because again, it's away from home and sorry, excuse me. A lot of teams know that our defence is it can be very fragile. It doesn't take a lot to sometimes get through us. But hopefully, with the little terrier that is Torreira in there in the right position, him and Xhaka play for us. Hopefully we can do bits away from home.
Yeah. So going back to the original game, 2-2 of last season, and then we come to one of the more recent games, the spring game, 3-2, most notably known by Mustafi kind of throwing Bernardo under the bus, leaving the ball. He thought Bernardo should have come for it, and Zaha did what Zaha does against us, scoring a goal. They get out of there with a 3-2 win, and it was symptomatic of our spring, you know, last year.
Yeah, let's just hope Mustafi won't be on the pitch. But then, having said that, this is the Arteta era, and yeah, going back to Zaha, it's he's going to have a point to prove, isn't he? He was nearly, he nearly made the transition from South London to North London over the summer, but we
Yeah,
opted for Pepe for whatever reason. Maybe it was because the instalments,
yeah,
that we love to pay other clubs in. But Zaha, he's a tricky character. He knows how to play against any team. He's always getting the referee on side, and Ainsley's going to have his work cut out. It's going to be an interesting battle, especially if we go with Pepe. They're both going to be up for it. Will Pepe track back? Hopefully, under Arteta, I can't, I cannot see him not tracking back. I wouldn't be surprised if
yeah.
Reece plays ahead of
Exactly.
Pepe.
Look at that position. In particular, I do think Reece Nelson may play instead of Pepe just because of the cover that we've talked about in the last few weeks. That Nelson will provide, particularly away from home. Stan the man is in. Thank you, Stan. I really want to see Ceballos have a run in Xhaka's position so we can see if he's worth pursuing in the summer. It doesn't mean the honk. He means he should. He thinks he could flourish under Mikel. So not honk, it's think. Not a Freudian slip.
Yeah, as much as I want Ceballos back in the team, can we risk it? It's a big game. I mean, if we're a couple of goals ahead, then yeah, I mean, by far, I think our most treasured partnership in our midfield pair is Xhaka and Torreira. And by putting Ceballos in there, like he's only coming back from injury as well.
Mhm.
Against the likes of MacArthur, possibly Townsend, even their German midfielder Maya.
Yeah,
Um, is it too much of a risk? And let's not forget, I mean, Ceballos, after his first game for us against Burnley, the first game we played at home in 2019, he hasn't really done much.
nope.
So, I mean, I'm not saying there's no player in there. I definitely see a player in there, and I'd love for him to flourish. But we need the points, and can we risk him so
Yeah,
soon?
I definitely agree with you. To answer Stan's question, I would go with Xhaka and Torreira because they have been as limited as Xhaka is. I think Torreira makes up for his deficiencies in many ways, and I'm just worried that Ceballos in an away fixture like this, and I think there's plenty of games to go till the end of the season, and I think that Arteta will have enough um, minutes into Ceballos that he'll be able to make that determination on Ceballos. I think, like we've always talked about, hopes Arteta is the perfect player, play like coach to to show these players because he's pretty much played in every position across midfield. He's going to be able to help Torreira and help Ceballos and help Xhaka. Even Guendouzi. Do you see some hope for Guendouzi?
Oh, absolutely. Gwen Doozy's, he's at a pivotal age, and he's moldable. And you can see already since Arteta's come in, much less time on the ball. I mean, I think Freddie started that off with him after keeping him on the bench
Have
for a couple
you
of
noticed
games.
that? I have not noticed that so much, Hopes. Have you noticed
Really,
that? Well,
I've,
I
I
didn't see
mean,
the FA Cup game in all fairness.
I mean, when I was at the Leeds game, and the Chelsea game at the Emirates, there's one thing I noticed. Guendouzi, he was playing the ball a lot quicker, and he was especially against Leeds. He wasn't dropping back when we had a goal kick to pick up the ball. If
Yeah,
he was, I can't remember. I know there was a couple of times when Martinez played the ball to him, and immediately he played it to the right back or the left back with a one touch. Um, and I didn't see his runs from centre of midfield to the attacking midfield. It's almost like we're playing a City where we let the ball do the running rather than us just trying to run through the pitch.
yeah,
Unless it's like a Pepe who yeah, against Leeds, he was just trying to, take on too many players.
So, so you're saying you've seen Arteta's work within Guendouzi taking effect?
Absolutely, I've seen um, I've seen some positive effects of Arteta on Guendouzi, and namely one of them being, quicker dispatch of ball, and definitely Guendouzi's not bombing forward as much. Now I don't know if that's because he's playing with Xhaka, but no, I definitely know there's a player in Guendouzi, 100%, and if anyone can bring that out in him, I'd put money on Arteta doing that,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like he is doing with Ainsley, Reece, Pepe,
Yeah.
Saka.
Yeah, talking about Xhaka, he's going to be sort of the man in the moment. I think he'll play tomorrow, and of course, to round out this section with recent history, everyone will know what happened in the Emirates game, 2-2, with Granit Xhaka storming off the field to not the best, not under the best circumstances. But let's sweep all of that under the carpet, follow the coach's words, and say everyone gets a clean slate here.
Yeah, I don't just think Ray. I just don't think it's the coach here, but I think it's Xhaka as well. Something's been said both by Freddie and Arteta in so much as wanting Xhaka to stay, because we all know there was an offer on the table, and it was reported by the British media that Xhaka had even accepted the offer, like he'd
Yeah,
negotiated terms, but I think it was after Arteta's second game, so that would be after the Chelsea game or the Man United game, the third game when Arteta came out and publicly said, as far as I know, um, he's staying, and I want him to stay. I've always liked him, even when Arteta was at Man City. They were going to purchase Xhaka. You could say Xhaka was a victim of all these changes. Under the last two managers we've had. And now he's
yeah,
actually coming into his own, and playing
yeah.
alongside Torreira as well. He looks a lot more comfortable because he's not having the responsibility of dispatching the ball. That's being given to Torreira, and Torreira's been doing it expertly, you know. And also that partnership, again, going back to what Stan was saying, can we risk trying a new partnership so soon, with Ceballos only just coming back, and it
Yeah.
looks like the most prolific partnership we have, the midfield pairing we have are Xhaka and Torreira. I mean, by all means, if we're bossing the game, then bring Ceballos on,
Yeah.
um,
I have a
maybe
feeling we're not going to be bossing the game so much, though.
say that again.
I have a feeling we're not going to be bossing the game so much.
You know
Um,
what? I was thinking about this, Ray. Now, it's going to be interesting. Are we going to revert back to let's try and murder them in the first half, like literally, like we did against Chelsea, or 30 minutes for Chelsea, but 60 minutes under Man United? Are we going to revert back to that style, or are we going to say, okay, we're invite the pressure and then we hit them on the counter like we tried to do with Leeds? Are we going to try, and if we try and go back to murdering them, or trying to beat them in the first half, doing most of the damage in order to accumulate our goal tally, then I believe our first half against Leeds, it will then prove that was premeditated and it was meant to be that way,
I'm
rather than
gonna
we played so crap in the first half, as everyone is saying.
Yeah, I'm going to do this comments from Stan, and then I'm going to give you my take on that. So Stan said, "I like the way we're not being over reliant on Guendouzi. He had too much too soon and needs to learn his trade. He was somewhat teacher's pet a little bit under Unai Emery.
He had
Now,
too much too soon on Unai Emery, Stan. I don't know what he
in the
had on him, because
further,
he was one of the first names on the team sheet in every game, right? So you must have had something on Unai. I don't know what it was, but when Freddie came in, I remember doing yeah, Stan was on that podcast. When I pointed out that Guendouzi's reaction when Lundberg took him off, 60, 70 minutes into the game, Lundberg's first game, and thereafter, and when Guendouzi came off, his reaction, okay, it wasn't it wasn't that animated, but you could tell he was surprised that he came off, and then he didn't play, even though he was
Yeah,
fit.
that was the Norwich game.
Yeah, and then he didn't
No,
play for Lundberg's two, three subsequent games thereafter.
no, he did not. He did not. Now,
So
getting back to what you were saying about what Arteta might do, let me take it from the other side, the other angle. I think Roy Hodgson is a little bit of a cautious coach. He knows what he has in terms of the players that he has. He sets his stall out very, very effectively, and they get some very, very impressive results every season. I seem to remember them taking some decent scalps like Manchester City and other teams like that. I feel Roy Hodgson will play cautiously in the first half against us and try to almost get in a halftime level, level pegging, and then try to win the game in the second half. So to your point, maybe Arteta should set up to start the game quite well.
um, I disagree. I think that Roy will try and tell his wide players to get the ball into their attackers, especially as Tosin plays, because it's his first game for for Crystal Palace, because he's just on a loan spell from Everton. Him and Ayu possibly up, not yeah, Ayu, him and Ayu up front, absolutely. And what they'll try and do, they'll try and keep it simple, because don't forget, Palace have got a phenomenal home and an away fan base, and they're very, very vocal. Apparently, that, like Mikel Arteta says, that pitch is very hard to play on, and like you say, they're very well drilled. So I think it would, I think it would pay against them if they were to sit back, because if they sit back, they know we have the pace and the firepower to hurt them.
Do you think they will sit back and play their counter-attacking game and let Arsenal have the lion's share of the possession? Possible, right?
I think because they're playing at home, no, they'll try and impose their game on us. They will they will target Ainsley. So Zaha will be given a message to target Ainsley, and that will automatically push Pepe back if he plays, or Reece Nelson. Um, and whoever they start with, out and out, their strikers will be told to get into the faces of David Luiz, and possibly Socrates if we go with him. Because again, just like Ceballos, I think it's too early to hold him back for this game. We need these points. We need to start climbing the table. So I think it will be a case of let's try and rough them up. Let's try and stop them playing their game, because Roy Hodgson is, like you said, it's the oldest manager versus the youngest manager. He'll know that Arteta will try and control possession. Um, Whereas if their players, if Crystal Palace can get in our face, rough us up a bit, try and ruffle our feathers, and stop us from playing the passes, especially, our target men will be Torreira, our right winger, whether it's Pepe or Nelson, Aubameyang, Ozil. If he can stop that, then, and get the strikers in David Luiz's face, then he's cut off the supply line to our forwards.
Yeah.
So, it's not going to be easy, but I don't think Palace are a team to sit on their hands at home.
Yeah.
They,
Uh,
they they got
um,
strong players. Sorry, they got strong players. And especially like to play. I don't think they'll give us that much respect. I think it will change if we score like early on, the first 15, 20 minutes. Then they're gonna have to question the way they play.
yeah. Let me ask you this: how important is the first goal in this kind of game, given Arsenal's frailties away from home?
Well, you see, I mean, any other team, and I'd say, yeah, it's vital, but we're so used, our last two, three games against Palace, we're so used to going ahead, like, 2-0, 1-0, and suddenly they just pull it out. They pull a rabbit out the hat, you know.
Yeah, they're a team that is dogged and they stay in there. They don't let one goal deficit get to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were leading them 2-1 back in October 2018. They were leading us 1-0 at half time, and then we scored two like really quick, Xhaka and Aubameyang, 51 and 56. And we were 2-1 up, and then all of a sudden they go and get another penalty. So our defence are really going to have to be alert, and especially Xhaka. I think they'll try and target Xhaka. Um, to try and get the error out of him, try and get dead ball situations, free kicks, crosses, so they can hit it high into the box, and then let their forward players do the damage on us. Roy Hodgson, like a lot of managers, he utilizes those dead ball situations really well. So,
Mhm.
the more they can get us flustered in our own half, or the more they can make tactical fouls, which will really annoy us, a lot of our players, and the more free kicks they win in the final third of the pitch, I think that will be vital. But I just cannot see them, starting on the back foot.
Yeah, and just Dan was wanted to clarify. He's not saying for Ceballos for Xhaka now, but we do need to see him have a run so we can evaluate him. And of course, that's
100%.
what we were saying as well. And I think Arteta will use the player. He's going to utilize the squad. We're going to talk a little bit later about transfers and what might happen in January. But yeah, he's definitely going to utilize the squad. The
Going
next,
back to Tobias under Unai Emery, he did not he did not make his mark. He did not make his mark. I mean, it got a
well, he
bit.
really just had that Burnley game.
He got a bit tedious, didn't it, when he kept running around like a dog chasing his tail?
Yeah,
Like he just doing those spins and spins and spins, and nothing was like coming off of it. So it was like, okay, now what? Good energy, good work rate, drops back to pick up the ball. But that's not Arteta's style of play. He wants flowing football, short passes, as you always say, the triangles. Run into space, give the man on the ball an option. So Bias is going to have to change his game. I definitely agree with Stan. He needs to learn his trade, and we need to ascertain whether he can fit into Arteta's plan. But I have no illusions that Arteta you know, will try and work that out, because we still have, like, FA Cup, the Europa League, and them kind of games. The Premiership is so important for us, because I'd prefer if we managed to get a top four place miraculously. Um, it would really, really send out a message, rather than with the cup, Europa League, anything can happen. It's one game. And like we saw against Chelsea, when we were laughing at them turning up late and having arguments during their training sessions in Baku, and suddenly they turned us over. So,
yeah, they turned up on the day we didn't. Shout out to Sea Dogs. Good luck for the Palace game, 3-1 to the Arsenal.
yeah,
And Selhurst Park is one of his favorite grounds. It's a unique kind of ground, Hope, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Atmospheric, it's tight. The
Ab-
support is
their,
there.
their supporters there have just a section where they stand and they sing and they don't stop. I believe it was at the start of last season, the 2018-2019 season. A lot of them were not turning up to games because they were told by the board, they wouldn't be allowed to move around, and there was some politics playing out, and it showed. It really had an effect on the team. And then the board succumbed to the pressure, and the fans got what they wanted, and then suddenly that had a massive impact on the team. They are definitely the 12th man for the players, and it can really, really carry the players along, especially when things are not going well for them. And it's an intimidating ground. It's not the biggest of grounds. I don't know, 25, 30,000 capacity or what have you.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're always up for it. It's almost like, well, it is South London versus North London, so it's kind of like a London derby. So
Yeah, yeah,
there's putting that in the mix, and let's not forget, they're 1 point ahead of us. They've drawn their last two games. Their last win was against West Ham at
yeah.
home on a Boxing Day, so it's very tight, between us. It'd be nice to get the win, so then they'd be looking up at us. But by no means is it. I think a lot of fans know it's not a guaranteed result.
If we do win, we do jump above them. We are just 1 point behind them right now. We're in 10th place on 27 points. Shout out to Sea Dog. Shout out to you. It's 2:05, probably there right now in the morning.
Absolutely.
Fair play to you. The Arteta effect, hopes. Sorry, the Arteta effect. It's definitely it's been pretty quick. It's like a shot in the arm.
It's what happens when you've got structure, right? A style of play, structure, a philosophy, a blueprint you want to impose on the team. I'll be honest, I have to eat some humble pie here, right? I did not think he could turn some of those players around. The likes of David Luiz, the likes of Xhaka, the likes of Ozil, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And David Luiz is looking like a player born again. He's doing what we wanted him to do, but none of the Arsenal faithful thought he'd be able to do it. Like he was past it. Um, just seeing the likes of Ainsley, coming on leaps and bounds, forming a partnership with Reece, having the kahunas, that is Arteta to bring on, to bench Pepe and to replace him with Reece is a massive statement. And like allegedly, he had a go at them at half time, against in our last game against Leeds. So the players are really, they're not just saying it. So far, they're really buying into his philosophy. So much so that Xhaka wants to say. So much so, Xhaka is being named, amongst a lot of fans as having so many good performances now, really coming to his own. Like when Reece went off against Leeds, and Xhaka had a word in his ear before he ran off the pitch. Reece Nelson. So it just goes to show that we did make the right decision in letting Unai Emery go and going for Arteta. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise that initially Arteta did not get the job. He still had more to learn, um, and he's not just saying the right things. He's backing it up. He's backing it up as well. And I don't know about you, Ray, but every time I watch a Mikel Arteta press conference, I'm just like, wow, like, I want to see this now on the pitch. And every game there is something, there's a new addition, there's a new style, or there's a new, formation in terms of, it could be like the old school 4-2-3-1 that he's playing, but what he does with the players. I mean, did you ever think Mesut Ozil would be that player who runs more than anyone against in a game against Man United? Did you ever think that?
No, I mean, I didn't think we could unlock the Mesut Ozil of 2014, 2013, 2015 when he did join us for those first couple of years.
And
Um,
and some of these players, let's not forget, they were accused of causing, um, a bit of strife in the dressing room and whatnot. And even Lacazette, okay, he hasn't been scoring away from home. I heard a couple of gooners say, "Oh, he should be benched for this game." But let's not forget, he was man of the match against Leeds. Just because he's not scoring, it doesn't mean that he can't do. He doesn't have an impact. His work rate is phenomenal. Um, so you can see Arteta in each of the players, from Aubameyang down to Saka, even Leno's like dispatching the ball quicker. So, yeah, I definitely feel optimistic that, going into the second half of the season, um, hopefully we can put things right and be in the right half of the table, in and amongst the right position where we deserve to be. Even with transfers, like, okay, we haven't bought anyone yet. Arteta was saying, I don't just want to buy someone for the sake of buying them. They've got to be the right player for us.
Yeah,
Definitely, we need a centre back, a centre mid in case of injuries or whatnot. Um, but nevertheless, he's not just saying the right things. I can definitely see the Mikel Arteta effect taking place, not just with the players, but with tactics, with, as he says, energy, enthusiasm, determination, commitment. And he's not scared to ruffle some feathers amongst the players.
yeah. Shout out to Sea Dogs, one of our viewers. Similar situation. Scarborough is playing Nantwich Town in their league, the Northern League, and it's 12th versus 8th. And if they do beat Nantwich, I'm looking at the standings here. Sea Dogs, you can go level on points with them, Scarborough, and they've recently mirrored what Arsenal have done. Got a new manager in hopes, and things have turned around. So he's saying it's amazing how players can be awful for one manager and great for a new manager. Uh,
I think it's man management is so important on the pitch, isn't it? And
yeah,
some fans, the old school, will say that cost them their job, that cost them their job. But at the end of the day in, day out, I think David Luiz said it best when he said, sometimes you can sleep 4 hours and it's fantastic, but other days you can sleep 8 hours and it's horrible.
yeah.
Um,
Between being happy and being not happy in your
Absolutely,
job.
and that is then portrayed on the pitch. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. In some ways, I'm disappointed in the players. They're professionals. They should be able to turn out and do a job. Like if you go to work, you expect to do a job. Sea Dogs, thanks for stopping in. Have a great weekend yourself. Come on, Scarborough. Come on, Arsenal tomorrow.
Yeah, come on. Thanks, Dogs. But I think going back to your example there, if you go to work, I don't know, you could work individually or collectively as part of a team. Now, if you do not believe in the strategy or the tactics that are coming from above, it's going
Yeah,
to have an effect on your
exactly.
performance. Yeah, yeah. Granted, it's just more, apparent on the pitch. And sports stars, whoever they are, from boxers to footballers to tennis players, it's the smallest margins, the finest margins that have the biggest effects. Whereas at work, sometimes, I don't know about you, but if I'm feeling lethargic and tired, I can hide for 1 or 2 days or what have you, and get away with it. It's not going to be front page news or
Yep.
back page news, as it were. It's not going to be blasted all over social media.
I know
I,
exactly what you mean. Like on Monday, you sometimes want to mail it in a little bit, but you got to kick it up a little bit the next day. Then you pay that, you make that payoff to do it. You
and
know what I mean?
how demoralizing must it be if you just have manager after manager who's who for want of a better reason, you just cannot see what they're trying to do. I mean, Unai Emery, it now looks as like Unai Emery had a personal vendetta against Mesut Ozil, because we talk about players playing or deciding to turn up for whichever manager. But then what about managers and players, like the other way around? How is it that Ozil's turned into this player? How is it that Ainsley Maitland-Niles has turned into this player? How is it that Torreira is turned into this player? David Luiz, even Pepe to a certain extent, like with his tracking back. So I think the responsibility works both ways. And it does, it's easy. I think it's so easy to blame the players. Oh, he's on 120 grand, he's on 190 grand, he's on 350 grand a week. So that means we've got a license to just say whatever we want to them. And these are the same fans that when they see the players coming out the car park or, walking down the street, they're the first to get their photos out and, oh, selfie, selfie, so they're really
Yeah,
fickle flip flop
yeah,
people, and it must be demoralizing to like play. under a manager where you can just see, mate, it's not working. What are you going to do about it? It's not working, you know?
Boots TX, that goes with the fans. When we were winning, many were mad because it was only 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. Their excuse was that it wasn't by enough. Who cares about the win? We want more goals, you know?
Absolutely agree, Boots. Absolutely agree. Back in the day, 1-0 to the Arsenal was a great scoreline, you know? Who cares? I mean, look how Reece scored his goal against Leeds. It went in.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to go up to Ellen Road up north and have and have a replay, you know? So I
Oh,
totally agree with you.
oh, I was we did cover that FA Cup game, so watch that back there, Boots, and other viewers. So refreshing to see us get a bundle goal and win 1-0. And to me, I was also thinking hopes. It was very similar to what Manchester City do. They kind of get to the byline and square a ball across, and somebody's there like a Sterling, dare I say it, or an Aguero to put the ball away. Now, sometimes they do it a lot better than Nelson did, but the premise is still there.
Yeah, we stopped doing that. Under Unai Emery, we stopped attacking under Unai Emery towards the latter end anyway, conceding all those shots, you know. But yeah, I mean, we can't always win pretty. Sometimes we have to grind out a result, and that goal was totally, against Leeds was totally against the run of play. But who cares? We have to be more ruthless in that respect. I mean, look at Liverpool. They're bossing it top of the table, but not all their goals are picturesque. Spectacular goals. Sometimes it's just a case of let's you know the job's done. That's it. We move. 3 points in the bag. How many people actually remember the goals? History remembers the results, right? I mean, tonight at the first half of the show, we are talking about not how the goals were scored. We didn't speak about, the last time we beat Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park was in December 2017 when Sanchez, Wilshere, and Koscielny were
I
still in
remember.
our squad.
Oh yeah,
History doesn't remember the spectacular goals. What was the result? What was the result? Did we get the W? You know,
yeah. We want to be doing that next time, right? W.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, what do you think, Ray? Are you more inclined to get the spectacular goal, or the goal? Is it the spectacular goal? Is it the goal tally, or is it just the 3 points in the bag? Where do you sit with that?
But primarily, it's the 3 points in the bag because, like you said, results are what's going to matter. And yes, we're winning games 1-0, 2-0 in the Manchester United game, and the goals are going to come as long as the system is correct and the players are playing correctly. And I saw in the press conference that Arteta has definitely talked to the squad about how they're going to defend against Wilfred Zaha. And that's going to be, it's all about coaching at this point. If you coach the players, these players are not uncoachable. Some people in social media over the years have said, these players are uncoachable. We can't deal with some of these players. It's been proven that the players are coachable. Um, but I'm a little bit worried about tomorrow if I'm being honest, because now we're going into what I'm going to say is uncharted territory, away from home, where what I say PTSD, stress disorder, traumatic stress disorder, not to like make light of it, but in football terms, we have that away from home hopes.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it against Chelsea, Man United, Leeds, where we still have that PTSD where, home or away, we can just switch off. But if the reports are true and Mikel Arteta had such a amazing effect on Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling's games, then he'll know exactly how to tackle Wilfred Zaha. He'll know how to frustrate him. And therefore, I would be surprised if we went with a front four of potentially Reece on the right, Martinelli on the left, Ozil in the middle, and Aubameyang out and out, because Reece and Ainsley together can stop Zaha.
Uh,
I'm just not sure in Pepe as a coming back to defend. I still don't trust him that much, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that kind of formation just to keep Zaha at bay. Because if we if we can contain Zaha, that's a massive thing for us, a massive plus. And then if Xhaka and Torreira can do their jobs in this, in central midfield, then that is powerful. That's where we're winning. And we know with Martinelli, he will not stop running. Even Reece, to a certain extent, Reece is very fit.
yeah, but I think we'll see a 65-minute substitution with Nelson coming off and Pepe coming on at some point.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, why not? Because by then they'll be tired. There are so many different things we can do if we started with that formation. Definitely, giving potentially Ceballos, going back to what Stan was saying, Ceballos and Pepe a run out, getting them to put in a shift, and just not stop running.
Yeah. Boots TX, it's like the old basketball saying, would rather look ugly and make the basket versus looking pretty and missing. So, yeah, we'll take an ugly old W any day of the week.
I
Uh,
agree, Boots. I agree.
Pepe does need to work on tracking back like Martinelli, fighting and scrapping for the ball.
Absolutely. And I think, again, by putting Aubameyang out and out, in the 65th minute, we could bring Laka on maybe as well, 65th, 70th minute, because away from home, especially Lacazette hasn't been scoring. And I think it would be so important to put Aubameyang in, out and out striker, one chance, one goal. We know he has that in him. What do you think? Who would you start with, like, up front, and why?
No, I definitely would start with Aubameyang. I think it's going to be that kind of game where we're going to need his. Lacazette has been struggling, and I don't think he's confident. And that would be my main factor in keeping Aubameyang up front. Let's play Nelson on the right of him, Martinelli on the left, and Ozil in that hole behind Aubameyang, and then have a solid midfield. And I want to go with a back four for sure as well at the back.
Yeah, I agree, because I'll be really pissed if I see Laka just missing chance after chance. I
Yeah,
will, and Aubameyang has this thing where when he has the shot on, he'll look for Laka because he knows maybe Laka's low on confidence, or he hasn't,
yeah.
um, he's been missing or what have you. And there in itself, you're missing a chance. Like,
Yeah,
if
he's
we're,
not on the field. He's not going to be passing to him. He's
yeah,
going to play Pepe or Martinelli in.
exactly that. I'd even go as far as saying, having someone like Kolasinac instead of Saka as left back, uh, will play into our favour, because Kolasinac has got that. He's just got that presence, and he's more menacing going forward. I'm not taking anything away from Saka. He's still learning his trade, and he's got a great ball when he crosses it in. But we can't risk this game. We need to
No, I
go
mean, this is very,
3
very
points.
vital for momentum.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not forget, if we take the 3 points with Spuds playing Liverpool.
Yep.
We could go equal. We could really close the gap, not just on Spuds,
Exactly.
but on Man
Depending,
United
depending,
and Chelsea and Wolves.
depending on goal difference, and that, yes, there's probably like 8 goals in the difference. They're +6, and we're like -2. If they get mauled by Liverpool and we win reasonably well, not counting our eggs here, we could probably go ahead of them in the league
But
based on goal difference.
but even if we're 1 point behind them, or if we're joint on points with them, the fact we're just over their shoulder, that will play on their minds as well.
Yeah.
That we were so low, like we went as low as 13, and now we're equal with them on their points. That will really, really put the frighteners on them, I think.
Boots has an alternative way, which is valid as well. Maybe Laka can start and work their defense, tire them out. His hold up play could tire the defense out in time, and then fresh legged Oba could steal a goal. So there's two different ways to look at it, of course.
Hmm.
You know, I'm just a little bit worried, Boots, that um, Laka is low on confidence. I could see him being involved in a physical fight with their central defenders who are kind of tough and rugged, and he would become frustrated.
The thing with that is, if Laka does hold up the ball, then who's he going to be playing it into?
The wide players, Pepe or Martinelli, overlapping.
Yeah,
Uh,
if I mean Martinelli will get into that place, but if we have Oba, if we bring Oba on like Boots is suggesting, then Oba won't be up there. It will just be Martinelli.
it would
So
be Martinelli and Pepe trying to play on that inside right.
who has more of a partnership, Oba and Laka or Martinelli and Laka?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm all for Laka holding up the ball, but then we need someone who knows what he's going to do with it because even the partnership between Laka and Ozil is still forming. We saw that against Leeds and at Man U so many times when Ozil played the ball, Laka was not there, whereas Aubameyang would have been, and that's why I think, just to minimise our chances in terms of, you know. Missed shots and any silly play between Aubameyang and Lacazette, I think we shouldn't take the risk. Lacazette has had you know 4 games now under Arteta, and he's just been found wanted. I'm not saying we drop him altogether. No, bring him on the bench. I mean, we're playing, I believe, Sheffield United next at home. Great, start him again. Then
And feeds
just
into
for
my
this game.
momentum. That feeds into momentum that I want to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. No one's saying drop him. No, just we have to. As I just want to come away with 3 points, from Selhurst Park. It would just
It's
be,
not going to be
it,
easy.
yeah. It would just. Can you just imagine? What do you think it would do for our confidence rate?
It would be amazing to go away from home and actually get a win. I can't remember our last away win. It was West Ham. West Ham,
Yeah,
you know.
it was.
And Boots, you're exactly right. That's where Arteta's going to earn his money and coach these lads. Exactly right. Let's look, hopes. Let's look at the four other fixtures that are going to affect our standing in the mid-table league right now. Tottenham versus Liverpool. I've got a Liverpool win there.
I want Liverpool to win, but at the same time, for our 49 invincible records, I don't care who beats them. But then if it's Spurs, they'll be like, oh, we helped you keep that intact. Any little thing an idiotic Spurs fan can come up with, they'll come up
They're
with.
really close to draws, right?
Oh, it's diabolical, Just their biggest claim to fame is finishing above us, in their so-called best seasons, you know. That's all they've managed to do is finish above us. Yeah, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall, and it will be a Liverpool win. But you never know. I can't see Jose suddenly attacking Liverpool. If anything, he'll probably place 8-1-1 and
Yeah.
park both coaches in front of in front of his goalkeeper.
They have not been doing very well, so he's going to be cautious, I think. And a loss for Tottenham, an L, a big fat L, will keep them on 30 points. If we get a win, we're going to draw a level with them on points. The next game that's vital is Wolves versus Newcastle. I've got a draw here.
I would generally say a draw, but everyone's had a week off, roundabout. And Wolves, when they have time off, because they're in the Europa League, they found it difficult, but they have still pulled results out the bag.
Yeah.
I can just see Wolves winning that only because they're playing at home, I believe, and they'll just be up for it. They'll be, they've had a couple of, bad losses. I think City beat them, Liverpool beat them, and it was close in both matches. And I think
They,
they'll.
They beat City.
They
Remember
beat
over Christmas.
they beat City, but then didn't City beat them?
Now maybe it was in the FA Cup or something, but they beat them in the league 3-2 or something like that. And then
Oh yeah,
Liverpool
they did. They
was
did. They were two down. Yeah, yeah. That was the start of
10 men.
Christmas.
They beat 10 men, but they still won against.
That's right. And then they just lost to Liverpool, and then was
Yeah,
it Man United they played? And
they were then, and they had a VAR goal chalked off. Liverpool,
yeah,
you know,
but then I mean,
Liverpool have been pretty
Newcastle,
lucky.
Newcastle under Steve Bruce, they're robust, and on their day, they can, they're counter-attacking football. I mean, they're the sort of team who play counter-attacking football at home. But I just can't see like Newcastle
Okay,
winning at Molineux.
Wolves are on 30 points. Are you giving them the W tomorrow?
Yeah, only because they've had a week off and they'll come back fresh
Yeah,
fighting. And just on that topic of having a week off, this is the first week that Mikel Arteta's had with the players as well. So it's going
yeah.
to be interesting to see. He said in his pre-match conference, it hasn't just been pre-match, post-match, pre-match, post-match. This is the first time he's had some time. So yeah, I know it's only been 5 or 6 days, but nevertheless, and it gives give players time to recover and heal as well, especially at the rate at which he expects them to play.
So let's finish this section, but I do have some questions on the press conference to finish off this podcast for tonight. The next game is Everton versus Brighton. Everton are at home to Brighton. I have Everton winning that game. They're on 25 points right now. If they do win, they get up to 28.
Everton's at home.
Yes. They got that new shiny manager,
Yeah,
Ancelotti.
yeah. But they've taken a couple of L's, haven't they? The last
Yeah,
one
but
or
they
two
have
games.
to go against big teams like Liverpool, and maybe they played City or Chelsea.
Yeah, one would expect a reaction out of them, but let's not underestimate Brighton under their manager. He's tactically he's got them playing.
Yeah.
I'd go for a draw. I'm going to go for a draw, 2-2 draw.
Oh, well, that puts them down on 26 points, and they're behind us still yet. So that's okay. Last one is Leicester versus Southampton. Leicester at home. Southampton are on 25 points. That's why I factored them in to these calculations.
Yeah,
And you're
Leicester again.
smiling like you're going to call an upset or something.
Nah, Leicester again. The reason why I'm smiling is like, suddenly Brendan Rodgers has a couple of games against the top six and he's found wanting all these Arsenal fans saying, yeah, let's get Brendan Rodgers in and let's do this. And he's fantastic. He's got a philosophy. Where are these fans now? All these Arsenal fans now talking about Brendan Rodgers, a couple of losses and suddenly the team have
So I
found
brought
one.
you on to the Brendan Rodgers topic.
They narrowly miss that they narrowly got away with because of a VAR decision in the Carabao Cup the other night. It
Yeah.
was 1-1, and Villa should have their second goal should have stood, but it didn't. Something like that. So Southampton. I mean, Southampton are a strange team, aren't they? They they work hard. They fight. Leicester and both teams, I guess. Okay, with having had the week off, I would say it'd be 2-1 to Leicester, only because they've had a week off. So Brendan Rodgers has had time with them, and getting their confidence back up and getting Vardy on the score sheet, and yeah. So I'd say Leicester 2-1. But I think it's gonna be a tough match. Both sets of players are gonna be up for it.
Yeah.
And
So
especially, especially with the likes of Danny Ings, he's hitting form, and then Bertrand for them is he's always doing bits. So they're not going to have it all their own way, Leicester, and that's why I say it's going to be tough.
okay. So under our calculations, Wolves will be seventh. If we get a win, we could possibly be eighth. No, actually, Tottenham will be eighth. And probably the goal difference will say Tottenham will be eighth. But we could be in ninth place. We could jump above Crystal Palace if we get that win. Are you confident? What's your confidence level about tomorrow?
Um, I'm 60% confident we'll get the win, only because it's Mikel Arteta. But it's not going to be easy by any means. I just hope that we, um, I just hope it's not due to a poor performance. But I just can't see that happening under Mikel Arteta.
I don't think we're going to lose, but the dreaded D again. We've had nine of those this season. It's not good. We need to start fixing up and getting some wins.
We've had 9 of those this season, but then you've got to think we've had 3 managers this season. We've only had one under Arteta. Am I right?
Recent form, yeah.
So
One job, yeah.
we played 3 home games against Arteta
Bournemouth.
and one away game against Bournemouth. So we've drawn. So he's drawn one and he's won 2 and he's lost 1. But in each of those games, we've progressed. So if
Yeah.
anything, one could argue that because of his upwards, he's on the up,
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta, that we should see a reaction and therefore change our. This should hopefully begin to be the start of a change in our way form.
I mean, you look at that Everton game away from home, which was Freddie Lundberg's last game. You look at the Bournemouth away, where we got a draw under Arteta. From those two results to where we are now, I see a pretty big improvement in the squad and how they're playing, morale, confidence, all of that stuff. And Arteta did mention in the press conference that they had a pretty good training session and things are looking good.
Yeah, and I think therefore he's going to go with players who he knows are either on form and are definitely going to put in a shift for him. So that's
Hard
why I
work
think Laka will be
and
on the bench. Um, but I think going back to your point on PTSD, like the players, I think I'm suffering from that as well. And we both know Xhaka and Socrates and Louise. If they're not on their A game, they can be found wanting, and that's why again I'll substantiate my point by saying I can see Reece Nelson and Gabriel Martinelli starting this game only because of their work rate, and that is what Arteta knows he needs. And to play the level of football, they need to be physically fit and mentally astute. Otherwise, they'll be found wanting. I mean, what do you reckon on
I'm
you
I'm
know?
looking I'm looking at the pitch in my head right now, and I'm thinking you get Martinelli and Nelson back when we're out of possession, back into those cover areas for the fullbacks. Probably Kolasinac and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think we're pretty compact at that point with Torreira and Xhaka working quite well together. That they do work quite well together. I'm thinking it's going to be is it Socrates and David Luiz? We haven't really talked about the central defensive pairing. I think that's what it'll go with.
It
And
has to. It's like I said when Stan was making his point about Ceballos. It's too early for Holding, and some fans thought Holding had an iffy game against Leeds. I mean, maybe you guys saw it different on the telly than what I saw in the stands. I saw Holding. He put in a great shift. But I just think again, Mikel will go for robustness and getting a pairing going and wanting to start those kind of players. Hence, Nelson will start ahead against Pepe, and Martinelli will be in there as well. And that's why I also think that Socrates and um, David Luiz will get the nod. Ahead of Holding.
so, real quick, we'll keep this under the hour. We went a little long here. Arteta versus Hodgson. Obviously, Roy Hodgson very experienced, and Arteta was very, very truthfully as well. I think complimentary of Roy and all the things that he's done with limited resources. And I think Arteta is going to be limited, working with limited resources as well. I don't think a lot is going to happen in the transfer. window this January. Just give me your points, your thoughts on Hodgson versus Arteta first.
Okay, so we have someone who's very experienced in Roy Hodgson, both nationally and in Europe as well.
Yeah.
Let's not forget Roy Hodgson was the England manager.
With,
He done wonders at Fulham. Unfortunately, when Roy went to Liverpool, however, it was too big a step up. A
mm,
lot of what the pundits say, and not just that, but what the results show. He was found wanting. Um, Whereas Arteta, he's trained under the best. He's got a good understanding of the game. So it's gonna be a real battle. And just like Mikel did not underestimate um, Marcelo, the Leeds manager, I
mhm,
don't think Mikel is that naive to underestimate him. He has to, um, polish Roy Hodgson a bit, just to get his ego going up. But I don't think Roy is a fool by any means. His players are well drilled. There is a system in there. He's had much longer than Mikel has with his players.
yeah,
They're above us for a reason. Let's not forget.
yeah.
I heard a lot
Your
of
mentality is unshakable too.
absolutely. I heard a lot of heard a lot of pundits speaking about Roy Hodgson and comparing him to Unai Emery in that respect. I just think that if Mikel manages to unlock, unlock find the key to unlock the padlock as such, then Roy Hodgson, that's where he's found wanting. I don't think he really has a plan B or a plan C.
Yeah,
um, and that will stand massively in our favour. It's gonna be close. And whilst we're on this topic, let's not forget our next game is against Sheffield United. Both
yeah,
are they're really important games that we have to win because both teams are above us, and both teams will know that. In one sense, if Palace go ahead of us, then I can see them sitting back and just saying, "Okay, bring it on now. You,
a
now
draw
you,
or with a win. Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's
now."
a great point. They are ahead of us due to our pretty bad season so far. We've taken a lot of draws. One final point before we go, Hopes. Thanks for coming in again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You think Arteta? I think we both saw the press conference. Do you think Arteta will always be that refreshingly honest, or do you think as he gets further into his coaching role, he will need to be a little bit more guarded about his candor in press conferences?
No, I think he, as a player under Arsene Wenger, and then seeing Unai Emery as well being somewhat candid, um, understands the importance the honesty plays in building bridges with the fans. Um, and furthermore, the fact that he has trained under Pep Guardiola. Now, this is the guy who says, "Oh, I was shouting at my players after half time because we only won 3-1 against Man United when we should have scored six." Um, I think it's more of a personal philosophy and the way Mikel Arteta carries himself, just like Pep Guardiola, very stoic like. Sure, you're going to speak to me about the 2-0 win or the 5-0 win, but I want to talk about the three chances we missed. That's very much Pep-esque, and therefore um, I cannot see Mikel, tracking back on this because he knows that in one hand he's got the players, he's got the board. In the other hand, he's got the fans, and in the middle, he's got the players. So he's got to, I think honesty will be his best policy. I don't think he's going to be the yes man, um, to a certain extent. Anyway, I don't think him. I can't see him tracking back.
Let's open my question up further to a very deep, much deeper question relating to honesty. And 3 weeks from now is the 31st of January. Um, is it too early to start talking about transfers or if this club isn't going to be involved deeply in the window. Will they support Arteta? Do we need to support Arteta? Is it just so difficult in January to get the players that you need in both in and out? Is it too difficult? Does the hierarchy in Raul and those fellas get a pass until the summertime?
In my opinion, definitely not. It's about time Arsenal Football Club change their philosophy and start buying in players in January. Um, if anything happened to David Luiz or Xhaka, we're in big trouble. We've seen that when Xhaka hasn't played already. We definitely need players, and I would relish the opportunity of the board putting some money down and investing in the club, especially KSC. Now, I've always, since Mikel Arteta's come on board, I've always said it's 40% Mikel Arteta, 30% the players, and 30% the board. Now, Mikel Arteta, in his first four games, has shown he has got the ability. He needs the backing. The players have shown that they are buying into his philosophy. It falls back on the board. Um, Back the manager. Give the manager um, the fuel to stay alight. And you know,
Are the players available in January?
I think for the right price, anyone's available.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
I agree with that.
what do you think with the board and backing Mikel Arteta? What's your take on it? Okay, there's what you like versus what you think's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, we could all play football manager and just like shell out millions and millions of pounds for Upper Meccano and Koulibaly and all that. But I do think Raul has said in the past that it's notoriously difficult to get players in January. So the signs for me are not very good. Um, can we glean something from the fact that three of the youth players have gone out on loan just today? And I want to say best of luck to those. Um, Tyrese, Emil Smith Rowe, and another player that is escaping me right now are going to go on loan. But hopefully that is something that points to we're going to do something in terms of getting an experienced player in. I think we need a midfielder, and I think we certainly need maybe a fullback at the worst on the right side, maybe. Um,
Yeah, because if we're going to be progressing to the latter stages of the Europa League, the FA Cup, um, and we're going to want to make our mark on the Premier League, then it would just be, it would be an excellent start to Mikel Arteta's career as manager of Arsenal Football Club, showing that he has got the backing and the board are willing to do something different. Okay, Mikel said himself, I'm just not going to bring anyone in, for the sake of bringing them in. However, we have been linked, to Umtiti. He was in the stands against Leeds. So no, against Man United. Sorry, against Man United. So even if it's someone like that, even I know Boateng is 31 years of age and he hasn't played that much in the Bundesliga. He's only played 5 games there for Bayern this season. But you never know his presence, and what he can bring to the squads. I just think it would be a good move from the board to do something different.
no good faith from the
Oh,
top. We're starting to see it on the field. We're starting to see the coach doing something, and I think it would create a lot of unrest amongst because I see the fan base as like percentage points, and some of them are going to the not liking what the board are doing, and it's breaking away that way. I see the percentage points breaking away from one side to the other, and we don't want to be eternally divided as a fan base. We find enough things to fight about and to have a debate about um, vociferously sometimes within the fan base. and we want the board now to show some faith.
I mean, wouldn't it be painful, like if we got to the semi-final of the Europa League or the semi-final of the FA Cup, and then suddenly injuries,
I think
our players
like
started
from
going
one
down
side, yeah,
because it's a whole new system. And Mikel Arteta has said they're not fit enough. In my opinion, not that's interpreted. They're not fit enough to play the way I want them to
no,
play.
they're not good enough to play 90 minutes at the level he wants to play.
And also, if you're an Aubameyang, if you're Lacazette, if you're a David Luiz, if you're Torreira, then you think, okay, not only have I got competition for my place, but I've got to make sure that I'm one of the first names on that team sheet. So it's good for like competition amongst the players.
Yeah.
But overall, I think it's the board's opportunity to say, okay, we've changed managers, and now we're also backing him as well. It'd be a good foot holding for what's to come in the summer.
And finally, I want to fight on three fronts, Hopes.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we can all say, "Oh, who's available?" and we don't have the funds. But then we can say the same come summer, because this year, 2020 is going to be the UEFA, the European League as well. For the European nations.
Euro 2020.
So automatically, average players, their prices will go up, and consistent, but all the players' prices will go up unless they make a massive, error, which is beyond, which is irreversible. So either way, there's always going to be an excuse. I see, I see the likes of Liverpool who are on their A game and who have got a massive argument. Their board have a massive argument. What, you want us to spend money? Are you crazy? Exactly. And look, they just went out and got us, a cam. A lot of loan moves going on. Even if it's not permanent, it could be a loan move. Someone must be sat on a bench somewhere, wanting some game time. So, over to Raul and Vinay and Edu, like let's start doing stuff.
Get it done. Too early to start panicking. We have 3 weeks to go. But more importantly, we have a game coming up. Let's sign off right there. Hopes. Thanks for coming in. Really do appreciate you once again joining
Thank,
me.
thanks for having me. You haven't said your prediction.
No, I wanted to get out of here without saying a prediction. Put my neck on the line. Listen, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. I'm really, really scared we're going to draw this game. But listen, if you believe in something that's working at home with Arteta, then let's believe. Let's get on this journey with the coach and believe in him. And I believe we'll get out of there with a 2-1 win. I'm not going to predict that it's pretty. Like Boots said, it won't be pretty, but we'll get out of there. And you, my friend?
I would agree. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win to the Arsenal. Um, and I also agree. I don't think it's going to be pretty. Um,
We're gonna twitchy bums on the seats.
no, actually, you know what? I'm going to say a 3-1. I think we'll win
Okay,
3-1.
because it has to happen. You're right. The chances will flow. It has to happen.
I think it's still not going to be pretty, but I think it's going to be 3-1.
It could be one of those where we're leading 2-1, but we have a really, really tricky patch where they could possibly equalize, and then we go the other end, get that.
I think the opposite way. I think we'll be
Well,
two. I think I think I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be the opposite way. I think we'll be 2-0 up. They'll come back with a goal, so suddenly we'll all be on the edge of our seats, and it will be the next goal decides this. Everyone will be paranoid against the draw,
All right.
and then Laka will get the third goal.
We've analyzed this to death. Everyone has to watch a full hour and 12 minutes before the game starts, okay? No, watch the playback and you'll see one of us was right. I'm going 2-1, you're going 3-1. Let's get out of here, Hopes. Thanks for joining me. Come on, the Gunners.
Up
Up
the
the
arse. Thanks, Ray. Thanks for having me on. Good night, mate.
And I've just